touching you on a wonderful Monday evening. We are Galaxy Radio. Like I said, we have in the house, we have Brother Matthew in the house with us, and we have Brother Ken. I want to say, welcome, Brother Matthew, to Galaxy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello to all the listeners, and thank you for bringing me onto your program. It's great being here.
Rise up to Brother Ken.
Thank you for inviting us onto your program, and I want to big up Galaxy Radio and all its supporters. You know what? We love you, and keep on supporting the good man and the good work.
Give thanks. Yes, Brother Matthew. Yes. The Gambia vibes. Yes.
The Gambia vibes.
Glad to see what you're doing down there in the Gambia. If you can just introduce yourself fully to the listener and just tell them about your
what
project.
I'm doing and who I am. Well, I don't think I'm any different to anybody who's listening at the moment, actually, because I've been in this country from the early 60s. Originally, I came from Grenada. My family came from Grenada. We've lived through all the trials and tribulations of the last 20, 30 years in this country. Luckily, God always helps me for some reason. My mother says I'm a creator, so anything I do, I try and create, try and make it work, kind of a situation. But a few years back in 2005, I needed a holiday. I was working too much. So my partner at the time said, you need to have a break. I said, all right. Just find somewhere in Africa. It must be not Tunisia. It has to be Africa. So anyway, we found Gambia, and I kind of a half promised that I wouldn't look at properties or anything like that. So I had a friend at the time who was doing a project, giving out stuff for schools and fundraising and Hearts to Africa.
Oh yes.
Hearts to Africa. Yeah. So for the first week or so, I went around with them giving out books and other materials to schools, which was great because I'm seeing now for first hand how the villages are, who the people are, how things are. And it was nice. It was kind of rewarding. I like Gambia because it reminded me of the Caribbean. Insofar as it's not too big, it's not Nigeria, it's not Senegal, it's not any of those places. It was almost like going back to the countryside. I like that, but I also saw lots of other resemblance in terms of people selling on the beach and the way they're having to walk that hot sand every day with their wares, trying to sell to tourists that weren't paying them any mind and so on. So it kind of, I felt it. I felt the country. I felt the struggle that the people were having. Anyway, the second week, I thought, let me have a look and see what properties are around. So I kind of went around for a few days, and someone local told me about this resort that was actually in the center of everything, but it had been closed for a few years. This resort was a resort called Sambu's. It was started by an African man some time ago, and I think in the first recession back in the 80s, 90s, he lost it. And it was bought by an Indian man for his son because it was a beautiful place, and he said that he's buying it for his son. But his health deteriorated, so he put it up for sale. And it was just happened to be at the time when I was there, so I thought. So I just fell in love with it. The place was beautiful. You walk off the main road. It's on a corner, so on one side of it you've got a road going down to the beach, and on the other side you've got the main road. So you walk off the main road. You walk through the gates. These big pine trees and mango trees and pathways and everything just seemed just totally tranquil. I thought, this is fantastic. And for the price, I bought it for a reasonable amount of money. But at the same time, I felt that the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do those things in the Caribbean. As much as I loved the Caribbean, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do the type of things I wanted to do in the Caribbean. And this gave me an opportunity to do it. It's a winter holiday destination. People go there during the off-season. The climate is exactly the same as the Caribbean. We have the same rainy season. We have the same time zone. We have the same everything. So it wasn't difficult to like it. And so I bought it. I bought it the second week I was there. And the barrister who did the transaction, he came to London, and we had never met. We'd only spoken on the phone. And when he came to London, we met in a hotel in Edgware Road, and I could see him coming through the door, and I was sitting in the reception bar waiting. He walked past me, he looked around, he's walking up and down, looking around. So I stopped him and I said, "Sharif, you looking for me?" So he says, he couldn't believe that he was a black person. Because he says, these things don't happen. He says, these things only happen with white people. I says, well, why? He says, that's how it's always been. He's never, ever had a transaction that size with a black person. So I said, no, hey, come on. We're living in the 21st century. It's time for us to do the things we want to do. And that's how it came about. That's basically how it came about.
And it's the ideas that you're putting in it,
Well, one of the things that, that kind of struck me when I went to Gambia is that, first of all, most of the things in Gambia are owned by either Indians or Lebanese or people like that. And, they don't see Africa like how I see Africa. You go into a hotel room in Africa, you want to feel like you're in Africa. You don't want to feel like you're in Spain or you're on the Riviera or you're in London, So, and the project that I've undertaken is a big project because it's a very large resort, And I'm like you. I'm like anybody in London. I'm just getting by. I have some property here, and so from some of the income from the property, I managed to filter some of it into doing the project over there. But I had to think of a way of doing it where I didn't have to spend a vast amount of money on concrete and steel and do it in that kind of a way. So I searched in it, and I came up with doing it with compressed earth blocks or Dorby blocks. Now these blocks are made from waste from the roads, from the quarries, and so on. The waste combined, it's like cooking a soup. If you're cooking a broth, you're cooking a broth. If you're cooking a chicken soup, it's a chicken soup. If you're making blocks, you're making blocks. And the ingredients that go into that soup, we produce beautiful quality blocks.
I've seen them.
Beautiful quality blocks. And they remind me, I suppose, of bricks that you see on English buildings. One, for me, it became much more economical to do it like that. So what I did is that I found a machine that I was happy with. I got it from India. I went to India.
As you were saying.
I did a course. I did a course in India on how to make the blocks and also how to build using it. So now we build vaulted ceilings. We do domes. Yeah, I've just done my first big dome. My first big dome. I mean, when I was on the course, I made a very small dome, but the theory on making domes and making arches is fairly consistent. They've been doing it from time, they've been doing it from time. The Egyptians did it. Many other people did it with similar materials. Even the English did it, using similar materials. But, in this modern age, they try and convince you, unless you're buying a bag of cement and you're doing this and you're doing that, you can't be doing it. You can be doing it. There are lots of different ways to build. But at the same time, we build in a very, very constructive way. We're not just building it from materials that's going to be gone and wasting tomorrow. No. We work properly. We've just finished, on the beach road, we just finished 9 shops. 9 nice-looking shops. I'm into the nice-looking. But naturally nice-looking. Not nice-looking because it's so glitzy. I believe in mixing it a little bit, so it's a little bit of bling but a lot of natural, and you put it all together, and then you get good results. So we finished the 9 shops, and we've got 3 left to rent. So that's helped us in terms of some income. We're on the inside now. We finished the dome that you saw. We just finished that earlier on in the year. Let me tell you about building that dome. That dome was built by me and 4 other people. Now, these people never knew what a dome looked like, more or less, to build one. And I always start off with a drawing on the wall and give them an idea of where we're going, from the foundations to the first arch, to the circle, to the first bricks that start making the dome, right up to the last. In the last part of that dome, from the time we finished, I did the first arch, the second arch, the third arch. They did the other arch. There must be maybe about 15 arches going right around. They made those other arches themselves, having seen how I've done it, and we did it together. When we got to the dome itself, I started the dome so that we can get the right angle, so that it goes up in the right projection. I did maybe the first 1.5 meters, and then I left the country. They built the rest themselves. 2 people, 1 laborer and 1 builder, 1 masoner. They took their time. It took a few months, but they did it themselves. And that's how it's been with me working there. In the early days, I used to have contractors who would waste time, really, waste of time. You know, contractors who would come in, half of what they did you had to undo when you came back and so on. So little by little, I broke it all down to a very small team. Now I have a very small team working there year-round, and I start work with them, and we work through for a few months or a few weeks while I'm in the country. Then I leave them to it. I come back towards the end of the work. We work through the end of that, and we start new work. And it's been working successfully that way for the last few years now. So thank God.
To what I see, you know, is some good work, you know. And the part that really even moved me more is that theatre.
Oh, the theatre, yeah. Well, the place. I don't want to. Africa's hard work. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy, you know. Africa's not easy as people might think it is, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding. You wake up in the morning, and you have an idea, and by the end of the week, you've created something that was just in your head a few days ago. So that part of it is very rewarding for me. But what I don't want to run a resort. Yeah. Because running a resort is hard work, and I don't think I'm up for the hard work, you know. I'm up for hard work, but not that kind of hard work. You know, the people management and all the rest of it that it takes to run a resort, I'm not sure I'll do that. So most of what I'm building, some of it is going to be sold, some of it is timeshare, some of it is just rent. Yeah. Just in a straightforward, normal way. So we're creating a gated living in one side of it, and it's such a big place. The front end of it, where the dome is, we're creating a restaurant and a theatre and a venue. A venue. A venue where we can start bringing plays, we can start bringing shows, we can start bringing theatre, we can start bringing drama, we can start bringing dance, and we can start creating a fusion. So we have a very nice stage which we've set up, with the changing facilities and all the rest of it. We have a nice restaurant. Capacity maybe about 2,500 people. We want to get that fusion, mixing soca music and zouk music and African music and Ghanaian music and everything that we know, as well as Caribbean people. That's right, that we know, together with their music, because so much of it is so close. And the drama and the dance, I mean, talking about it just makes me want to just finish things quick. But we're trying to do it correct. We want to have proper production, we have proper lights, proper shows, proper management. And as we're going along, we'll bring people in, just as we brought people in to learn how to use the blocks and to build. We'll also bring people in to stage manage, to production, to do all the things that's necessary, so that I can sit back, put my foot up, and enjoy the show. without the drama, you know. That's my ambition at the moment.
Yeah, man, and give thanks, you know, for showing us around what you're doing, you know. And I know that Ken was there, right, Ken?
Oh, was I there?
Your first time in Africa?
My first time in West Africa, and what an experience! You know, I can just say this: I went out as a West Indian, and I came back an African.